Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for attending our conference call today. Which certification does your vendor qualification program need? I'm John Armstrong. I'm the Regional Sales Manager at SGS for Pharmaceuticals, and my experience includes approximately 23 years at this point in healthcare industry. Also, our speaker today is John Gawlak, who is the Technical Manager and Senior Auditor at SGS, who has over 33 years of quality and project management experience and over 27 years of leadership experience in cosmetics, pharmaceuticals, personal care, food, and the medical device industry. SGS has an established history. It was founded in 1878 in the mid 20th century, diversified into inspection, testing, and verification services. By 1981, they were listed on the Swiss Stock Exchange, and as of today, they have over 150 years in business, which includes accomplishments as the #1 world leader in certification. We have over 98,000 employees, over 2,500 offices, with a focus in 7 industries. Our knowledge department focuses on certification, training, whether that be in-house, online, or a blend for your team, customized audits, which includes GMP audits, as well as technical consulting. So the difference of SGS is really that we have global experience and local experts that partner with both industry and regulatory associations, which includes the ability to focus on your company here in the United States or your partners around the world. Today's agenda includes a discussion about vendor selection. We'll cover what is ICH Q7 certification, EXCiPACT certification, Food GMP with 21 CFR Parts 210 and 211, Food GDP certification, ISO 15378 certification. Then, how can these certifications support a robust vendor qualification program? What help your company may need through these certifications or second-party audits, and questions and answers. Please know if you'd like to type in a question at any point, feel free to do so. We'd love to answer all of them, and we look forward to helping you in any way we can. With that said, I'd like to introduce John Gawlak.
Thank you, John. I want to thank everybody for joining us today on the webinar. Again, my name is John Gawlak. I'm the Technical Manager here at SGS. And today I want to talk to you about how the certification processes that your vendors use can support your vendor approval process. So to start with, I want to take a quick survey. How many of your companies have a vendor approval process? So if you could take a second, please answer the question on screen, and we'll get immediate feedback. So let's see what the feedback says. All right, so 50% of you say that you have a current vendor approval process, and 50% of you say you don't have a vendor approval process. As you're aware, in the pharmaceutical world, the FDA, and so does the EMA and the other authorities in the different countries around the world, they do expect companies to have some type of vendor or supplier approval process. So they expect you to be able to select the proper vendors and then approve those vendors. And part of that process is asked in part of the next question. Does your vendor approval process include on-site quality audits, risk-based quality audits? So if you take a moment to answer this question for me, please. All right, here we go. So 2/3 of you said yes, you do require audits as part of your vendor approval process, and 1/3 said no, you don't. So with that said, the FDA expects you to have a strong risk-based vendor selection process, and they do expect you to have some type of quality audit program within that process of selecting and approving your vendors. Because as you're aware, the FDA does not have enough time to go audit all of the component manufacturers, the label printers, the excipient manufacturers. Normally they do a decent job of hitting most of the contract manufacturers, but there's still a few out there that they don't. And they do normally audit the API manufacturers as well, but it may not be as frequently as we would like as an industry. So with that said, because the FDA doesn't have enough time and enough bandwidth to get out and visit all these sites, they expect the pharmaceutical companies to hold their suppliers to the appropriate pharma standards to supply product into the industry. The challenges that we face as an industry when we have to do these risk-based quality audits is how often do we need to go visit these suppliers? And then how many of these suppliers do we need to go visit? Quality audits come with a cost. There's the cost of having the employees to do the audits, paying for the travel to go do these audits, and then the time it takes to prepare for the audit, write the audit report. And all of these are costs of quality that we have to do, but they're there. And the question that I present today is there potentially another way that pharmaceutical companies could get the on-site audit information, keeping their risk low while helping to reduce the pharmaceutical company cost? So SGS offers a variety of certification services to pharmaceutical suppliers. So we offer an ICHQ-7 certification for APIs, EXCiPACT certification for excipients, a World Health Organization good manufacturing practices with 210, 211 for finished product manufacturers or contract manufacturers, World Health Organization good distribution practices for third-party logistics companies and freight forwarders, and then ISO 15378, which is the standard for medicinal packaging for container closure systems, secondary packaging, and labeling type operations. So let's delve a little deeper into each one of these. So as you're all aware, or should be aware, ICH is the International Conference for Harmonization of Technical Requirements. And in their quality section, they have a series of different standards that are available for people to follow. And quality standard number 7 is the Good Manufacturing Practice Guide for Active Pharmaceutical Ingredients. It was approved back in November of 2000, and it has been adopted by pretty much every major organization across the world as the standard for GMPs for active pharmaceutical ingredients. If you go do a Google search for the FDA guidance document for API GMPs, you'll find that the FDA has adopted in its guidance document the ICHQ7 standard. The same thing in Europe, Canada, and even the World Health Organization has adopted the ICHQ7 standard. So this standard provides the GMPs and a pharmaceutical quality system for API manufacturers. SGS provides a certification process for API manufacturers by going through a standard ISO-ISC type process where we'll go out and we start with a stage 1 audit, and we go through and make sure that they have all the procedures that are necessary to meet the requirements of standard. And then we do a stage 2 audit where we go out and audit them to prove that they're actually doing what they said they were going to do, they're following the procedures, they're following the standard, and then we can issue them a certification. And then those certifications have surveillance audits on a yearly basis. So we go back in on a yearly basis and we validate that they are still doing things the way they're supposed to do. These are a 3-year cycle. So every 3 years, they start with another renewal audit and then 2 more surveillance audits. This provides the opportunity for companies like yours that purchase API that instead of having to go out and perform an audit, that SGS has gone out and performed an audit and certified these folks to the ICHQ7 standard. When we get through all the different standards, then we'll go into a little more detail about how you can use these different things in your system. So when it comes to excipients, the gold standard around the globe is the EXCiPACT organization. The EXCiPACT organization was started through the IPEC organization. The IPEC organization is the International Pharmaceutical Excipients Council, and the Europe, Asia, U.S. IPEC councils got together and worked together to develop the EXCiPACT organization, to create the EXCiPACT organization to do certification audits for pharmaceutical excipients. The standard is very similar to the IPEC GMP standard, with the exception that the EXCiPACT standard, being that it's an annex to the ISO 9001 system, has been written in a structure that follows the ISO 9001 audit backbone. So it follows the clauses 4 through 10, and then at the end of each 9001 section, it adds all of the GMP requirements that are needed and all the risk assessments that are needed in order to meet the EXCiPACT GMP requirements. And over the years, EXCiPACT has created GMP, Good Manufacturing Practices standard, a standard for good distribution practices, and a standard for good warehousing practices. So between these 3 standards, you're able to qualify, we're able to qualify the manufacturing and distribution channels for excipient products for the pharmaceutical industry, with the goal then of these audits being able to be used to supplement the pharmaceutical vendor qualification process. Now, EXCiPACT did in 2021, they also issued a new standard to the application of excipient GMPs to pharmaceutical auxiliary materials, which are called PAMs, because some of the companies and some of the things that you purchase don't truly fit into the niche of an API or an excipient. A catalyst that's used in a reaction, or a carrier that's used, or a E. coli that's used in a biotech formulation. Things that go into the process but then come back out of the process that aren't in the final product are considered pharmaceutical auxiliary materials. And what this does is this provides an opportunity for those areas to have a niche set of GMPs that get applied to what they do, so that the industry now has a standard to compare them against, and they have a standard to prepare for audits against. Because 210, 211 really doesn't fit that area, and neither does the API ICHQ7, and neither did the EXCiPACT traditional, straight up out of the box. So SGS is able to provide certification against these different areas to your suppliers to help you support your vendor qualification program. We have the World Health Organization. For those countries that don't have a strong backbone or infrastructure like the United States or Europe or Canada, where you have Health Canada, you have MHRA in England, you have the EMA, and then you have the US FDA. Other countries will adopt the WHO, World Health Organization standards. In order for SGS to globally go out and perform audits to qualify manufacturers of pharmaceutical drug products, we had to pick a general standard that covered the majority of the standards from around the world. And we chose the WHO GMP standard, which is the Technical Report Series number 986 from 2014, issued in Annex 2, the good manufacturing practices for pharmaceutical products. And what we do is we tie in, depending on the part of the world that that contract manufacturer is manufacturing or selling product or shipping product to, we tie in those appropriate additional standards. Like in the United States, we do WHO GMP with 210, 211. Or if the client is also going to be selling product in Europe, we would do it with WHO GMP with the appropriate EU GMPs that aren't captured. We've done the research to understand the additional requirements for the different regions of the world that are the parts that aren't quite covered by the WHO GMP, that we give a well-rounded audit and certification program for the companies that you might hire to do contract manufacturing for you to go forward. When it comes to supply chain, we're all aware of all the issues with the supply chain coming out of COVID and all the challenges we had with the supply chain coming through COVID and out of COVID. But the World Health Organization really has a good handle on the good distribution practices requirements. And they actually, during the middle of COVID, issued a new overarching standard, which was the good storage and distribution practices for medical products. And that was the Technical Report Series 1025. It was approved in 2020 on the Annex 7, but it actually wasn't published until 2021 because nobody was in the office till then to do it. And that's an overarching document that brings together and ties together both the WHO Good Distribution Practices, Technical Report Series 957 from 2010, and it also pulls together the WHO Good Storage Practices for pharmaceutical products.
Hey, John, do we have time for a quick question?
Yes, we do.
So, Mr. She asked for, what kind of certificates are needed for solvents used in spray drying?
Solvents used in spray drying, the best one for that today now, let me go back 2 slides. The best one for solvents used in spray drying would be the pharmaceutical auxiliary materials, because the solvents used in spray drying would be a carrier that then is evaporated out during the spray drying and doesn't remain in the product. So the pharmaceutical auxiliary materials would be a great standard for that to use, because we have it available now today. In the past, we would have tried to fit it into the EXCiPACT GMPs, or we would have tried to fit it into the ICHQ7, which really wasn't a great fit. But the new pharmaceutical auxiliary materials standard, the PAMS, is the best fit for that today.
Thank you, John.
You're welcome. So to get back here, so good distribution practices covers third-party logistics suppliers, i.e. people that would distribute your products the final mile to the pharmacies, hospitals, also the freight forwarders, custom brokerage houses, and custom carriers like FedEx. FedEx has the critical shipping, custom critical. Folks like that have the reefer trailers that need to be validated and temperature mapped. The WHO GDP would cover that. And these type of certifications are designed to help strengthen the supply chain and to help make the job of the vendor's qualification program for the pharmaceutical supply chain a little easier on the pharmaceutical industry. And last but not least, we have ISO 15378. ISO 15378 isn't well known in the United States yet, but it's primary packaging materials for medicinal products. Again, it's based on ISO 9001, and it has the references to the GMPs that are required at the different areas within the clauses 4 through 10 from ISO 9001 2015 that you would need to meet in order to be able to make primary packaging, whether it be glass vials, glass tubes, glass jars, plastic bottles, pouches, sachets, foil for blister packs, printed materials, secondary packaging cartons, pre-printed shippers that have labeling on them. That covers all of these areas. And it's another way for those companies that work in that field to be able to show their pharmaceutical companies that they're doing it right and that they meet the requirements, and it's a good pharmaceutical standard to go against because it's designed for that industry versus trying to cookie cutter a printing house into 210, 211 standard, or to a molding house that produces bottles into the 210, 211. The ISO 15378 is designed for those businesses, so it fits into those businesses as well. With that said, that's a little bit of background of what these different standards are. And how can these qualifications support a robust vendor qualification program for you? SGS auditors that work for me have between 15 and 30 years experience in the industry, up to including managerial level roles in the quality organizations of companies. And they've spent time auditing and performing audits within the pharmaceutical industry and hosting audits within the pharmaceutical industry. In addition, when SGS brings them on board, we send them through a full training program, and we ensure that we witness them before we allow them to go out and work on their own. And then every 3 years, we reevaluate them to make sure that they're still doing things the way they're supposed to be doing them, in addition to the fact that our technical reviewers are reviewing every report that's written. So based upon this experience and this training that SGS has, SGS provides a robust audit with a robust audit report that we try to convince our clients to be willing to share their audit reports. In the EXCiPACT world, it's part of the requirement of the standard that they actually have to have a process and a procedure in place to share that audit report. The goal is we don't expect you to trust getting a certificate from your vendor or your supplier, and the certificate says, yes, I passed an audit. The goal is for them to share you the certificate and then also share you the audit report. It might be slightly redacted for confidentiality because, like a contract manufacturer, if something is specifically referenced to a specific client, then that would be redacted out of the reports. But to supply you with the audit report with enough information in that audit report that you can read that audit report and provide you with enough comfort and feeling that you are able to trust what SGS did as an audit in order to help support you through a risk-based program to where you don't have to go perform an audit on site. The goal behind this is twofold. On one side, we're looking to help pharmaceutical companies reduce the cost of their vendor qualification program by reducing the number of audits that they have to perform on site and reduce that travel. Potentially, they may end up being able to reduce headcount over time because you have less audits to perform, but you still have audit reports to review and the vendor qualification program to implement and to make sure that it stays robust. And at the same time, at your vendors, every time a pharmaceutical client goes into a manufacturer to perform an audit, there's a cost to that company for that audit being performed. There's a disruption to their business. You have X number of people that have to support that audit. They get taken away from their day job, and there's the cost of those people only supporting the audit that day and not doing their normal job. So there's a lot of cost and a lot of disruption. I used to work for a company, ColorCon, and I was site quality head in ColorCon in Indianapolis, Indiana. When I was there, we used to host between 50 and 75 pharmaceutical audits a year. That ate up so much time where we were trying to get things done, trying to do change controls, trying to make sure our validation program was in place, keep our stability program up, make sure we're getting our testing performed on time and our batch production is done, our deviation is done, customer complaint response is done, in addition to all of these audits. Now Qualitest is EXCiPACT certified, and they are ISO 9001 certified, which is a requirement to be EXCiPACT certified. You have to be 9001 certified. They're EXCiPACT certified. They have the reports. They've been able to work with their clients to understand that here's the report from SGS on how we did. It might be slightly redacted. And they've been able to reduce the number of audits that they host, which reduces their cost and allows them to be more laser focused on the day-to-day to get things done. So there is advantages to the sharing of the audit reports that helps reduce the cost for both the manufacturer of the ingredient or the service you're purchasing and for the pharmaceutical company and their vendor qualification program.
John, I have a question. A lot of times people call and they ask me what's the best time to get a certification. So, for example, API or EXCiPACT, is there an optimal time to pursue those certifications?
For me, the best time to pursue this certification is as soon as you're made aware that there's an opportunity to be certified. It's the best time to pursue certification. Get the certification completed. Use it as part of not only your quality to our arsenal of tools to help reduce the number of audits, but also the sales force can use that as a selling tool that says, hey, not only do we manufacture excipients, we are EXCiPACT certified. We're the best in class doing this for you. Or if you're an API manufacturer, hey, we're an API manufacturer. We have our DMF on file. We have our certification through SGS for ICHQ7. We're ready to go. We can support you. We can help meet your needs to get you through this process faster.
That makes sense. You know, a lot of times people will call and ask about a pre-audit or a gap analysis. Where do you see those becoming most useful for the clients who you've audited?
Okay, so for the folks that are going to be certified or want to get certified in order to help support the pharmaceutical vendor qualification program and to prove that their systems are good and adequate and maybe best in class for their industry. When you're first starting out, if you're not 100% sure that you understand the standard or you understand exactly the gaps that you are where you're at today to where you need to be, SGS does offer the pre-audit program. And the pre-audit program allows the SGS auditor to go in and do a snapshot in time to be able to work with the manufacturer of whatever material or standard we're doing and say, okay, as of today, these are the things that you're doing right, you're doing well, that meet the requirements of the standard, and here's the areas where you have an issue that you need to get addressed. As part of the certification process, when you start certification and you do your stage 1 audit, from the time we end the stage 1 audit, we have 6 months to finish the stage 2 audit. Or we have to go back and start stage 1 over. So if you start with a stage 1 audit and you run into something that may take more than 6 months to fix, you're not going to be able to get the stage 2 done in time, and you're going to have to pay for another stage 1 audit. Or if you did a pre-audit, you would know about that issue. You can get that issue addressed, then roll into stage 1, roll out of stage 1 into stage 2, and get your certification faster and quicker because you knew what the issues were that needed to be addressed in the gap when you were doing the gap assessment against your system. So that's the advantage of doing that.
And then how might training fit into that equation? Because some people just want to go do a certification. Are there times when you wish they had done a pre-audit or done online training or in-person training?
There are a lot of times when we go out to perform audits that we wish the folks would have spent some time learning more about the standard or having done a pre-audit, because we stumble upon a gap that's going to take a while to get it fixed. And that when you find a gap, it's time and money. The more money you spend, the less time it takes. And the less money you want to spend, the more time it takes to correct an issue. And if we'd have known that earlier in the game, then we could have helped them get through their certification process faster. And at the end of the day, if we find those big issues during stage 1, they're going to end up paying for stage 1 to be done over, which is the equivalent of the cost of the pre-audit. And as far as training, there are times when we get into these audits where we find out that the folks who truly don't understand the standard, maybe they don't have as much experience in the industry, or maybe they're new to the excipient world, or maybe they're new to the API world, or maybe they're new to the pharmaceutical world in general, and they just don't have that background. And as they go through the audit, they figure out, oh, that's what that meant. We thought that meant something different. The training up front really does help. In my personal opinion, the training is good not only for the companies that are getting certified, but the training is also good for the pharmaceutical industry auditors or folks that are going to be reviewing or part of the vendor qualification program, because not all of the pharmaceutical auditors or folks in the pharmaceutical vendor qualification understand what's actually in ISO 15378 for medicinal packaging, or what exactly is in the PAM standard for EXCiPACT, or what exactly is in the World Health Organization GMPs versus 210, 211, or versus the EMA. It helps them understand and get a better feeling for what SGS is auditing against and what the clients are getting certified to, so that they can feel more comfortable using those certifications and audit reports to support their vendor qualification program.
That makes sense. You know, a lot of times clients will have an at-cause audit that they have to conduct, and it begs the question, is there a place for a proactive CGMP audit to see where a company is?
It is proactive to that. The The reason why the vendor qualification program should include supplier audits is to make sure that somebody is at least on the ground looking around and seeing the facility and seeing the procedures and the records to help eliminate issues going down the road. Now, there are times when an issue comes up and it's a significant enough issue that a for cause audit needs to be performed. And when that does occur, pharmaceutical companies have the choice of sending out their own people, or maybe they don't have enough staff or they don't have enough bandwidth to handle it. And that's where companies like SGS can come in and help perform second-party for cause audits, which is a good segue into my next slide. So two slides out. So first question for you folks here is, based upon what these different third-party certifications are and the fact that the audit reports should be available for you to review, do you think your companies might consider using risk-based vendor certification, using third-party certification audit reports as part of your risk-based vendor certification program? So if you take a second to answer this question, that'd be great. All right, let's see where we're at. Hey, look at that, 100% of the people. I must have done well discussing things. But to say that, so how can SGS help you? SGS can support your audit program. If you need to have, based on your risk assessment, you decide that a vendor certification audit report isn't what you need, that you actually want an actual audit specific to the ingredient you're buying, or for some other reason you need an audit, SGS can support your audit with local regional auditors. So if you are in the U.S. and you need an audit in China, we have trained auditors in China that can go and do the audit at a much reduced cost than you sending someone from the United States to China to perform the audit. Or the same thing for India or Europe. Or even in the United States, we have auditors that can perform audits because maybe you want to have a specific audit performed, but you don't have the bandwidth to get that audit done, and then you need support, and SGS can support you with auditors in the United States and Canada as well. I did this when I ran third-party quality for a generic pharmaceutical company. I had 600 to 800 vendors, 600 to 800 manufacturers that were producing 6,000 to 8,000 ingredients that we used in our manufacturing process. And I just did not have the bandwidth to get all the audits done myself. So I used a couple SGS auditors and a couple subcontract auditors, contract auditors that I knew from my previous life to conduct close to 100 audits a year for me around the globe. So, and then SGS can support your company by working with your vendors to achieve GMP certification. So let's say you're working with a supplier that is normally considered an industrial chemical manufacturer, and you want to use one of their materials to meet an NF grade or to be used as an excipient. We can work with you to work with your vendor or your manufacturer to achieve a GMP certification and get through the audit program. You got a bottle manufacturer that you want to make sure they're following GMPs. We can work with you to get that bottle manufacturer certified. Or if you have a distribution center for, a distributor like a Tricor Braun or Berlin Packaging that distributes bottles and caps, we can help by helping them become qualified for the distribution of those materials. Sort of like some of you may be aware, some of you may not be aware, but certain C-label liners that go into caps for bottles in the pharmaceutical industry have specific storage temperature requirements based upon the wax layer between the foil seal and the backing material that attaches inside the cap. And those specific storage requirements are 20 to 25 degrees C with 40 to 60% humidity. If you buy caps like that and they go through your supply chain, then you need to be able to ensure that your distributors are storing those caps appropriately as well. And SGS can help you with that certification program to make sure that your bottle and cap suppliers are handling the bottles and caps appropriately and storing them in appropriate type warehouses and not storing them in inappropriate warehouses to maintain their GMP status by helping them through certification process. So with that said, what questions do we have today, John, so that we can answer our folks on the line's questions?
Well, we do have a related question. Which certificate does a service providing vendor have, like software for medical devices, software used for calculation? So which certification would they need?
So inside the medical device world, which is another group within SGS, there actually is part of the ISO 1345 and part of the MDSAP audit requirements. There is a specific standard around software that those folks can get certified to. I can't remember the exact name of that certificate off the top of my head, but I'm sure John would be more than happy to reach out to the medical device team and get that answer for the person.
Okay, very good. We'll do that. Any other questions from anybody? I guess not. No, looks like it takes care of it. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you, John, for your presentation. Thank you for attending, to everybody who attended the webinar today. Truly grateful for your attendance, questions, participation. Again, SGS does offer services for certification, training, verification, audits. If we could ever help, we hope you call upon us. So this concludes the webinar. Hope everybody has a great day. Thank you.